Have you ever wondered why Jesus came to us when he did? I mean, why 2,000 years ago? Why not 3,000 years ago? Or why didn't he just join Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden? Why didn't he come last year? Why wasn't he here 100 years ago so that we could have some testimony and eyewitnesses? Why isn't he waiting another 100 years to come? The era of history in which Jesus visited us occurred during a time the historians call the Pax Romana, the peace of the Roman Empire. This is an important time in civilization's development, where there was 200 years of solid government and economic power seated in Rome and held by the Caesar that ushered in a peace with no war for 200 years. Even we don't know what it's like to have 200 years without war. Now, it was during this time that the government was so powerful and so organized that they built so many roads. You could travel from as far away as the northwestern side of Africa in Morocco, all the way around the Mediterranean basin and through Jerusalem, up to Italy and through France and Spain, even up to the island we now call the United Kingdom. It was the first time in all of history when roads, a simple invention that we take for granted, but it was the first time that roads all connected to the main governance. Maybe you've heard, all roads lead to Rome. Yeah? Now, what was also important about the peace in this time, that there was one language for all of the economic power. All of the commerce was happening. So if you were a trader, all of the commerce was happening in one language. So that if you were a trader in Morocco and made your way to Egypt and sold something to someone who was visiting for Jerusalem, everyone would know this common language called Greek. So it was at this time when a story that we are very familiar with first came to happen. A baby was born in Bethlehem, and he grew up and began his ministry just outside of Jerusalem. It was the first time when the story of Jesus could be made on safe roads through the power of commerce and economics, and this little story of one man could leave his small village and travel everywhere that the roads of economic power could be. All of that happened about 2,000 years ago for the first time in human civilization. It seems to me like God got here to earth just as fast as we would let him. Now, our gospel today is about that first moment when the stories began to be told. Jesus was just a baby growing up, a teenager, a toddler, someone who wanted to make his way in the world as a carpenter like his father. But at this moment, Jesus is about 30 years old, and he's been baptized and is stepping into the power of what we know as the power of God. It is the first time in which John is telling the story, hey, look, that's the guy I've been telling you about. He is the one. He is the one. I was out in the wilderness. I came back from the wilderness to tell you and teach you. Something amazing happened. A dove, something like a dove, came out of the sky and landed on this man's head. He was just my cousin before that, but now I know. He is the one. I couldn't even tell at first. Now, when he told this story to two of his friends, two of John the Baptist's disciples, they were so amazed that when they saw Jesus the next day, the first thing that they did was go and follow him. Teacher, where are you going? Where? Can I come see where you're staying tonight? And Jesus, of course, being full of love and grace, said, why don't you just come hang out with me? It's the Sabbath anyway, come on. And so we can be assured that given the 4 o'clock designator, that they were going to eat a meal that was already prepared for them by people who tended to the religious and spiritual needs of the Jews in the community. And they spent so much time together that they were transformed. Andrew, leaving Jesus' presence, immediately goes to see his brother Simon and says, you will not believe this. We have found the Messiah, the one who is to come. And so that's it. That's the beginning. It's the reason why all of us are here, because one person decided to tell the amazing good news of what Jesus began to do in this world. I wonder if you have ever had an experience where someone couldn't wait to tell you an amazing thing that happened to them. Have you ever had that experience yourself? Mom, I'm pregnant. You're not going to believe it. I'm not really pregnant, I'm imagining. Mom, I've been proposed to. Mom, I bought an engagement ring. Oh my gosh, my kid passed his STAR test. Woo! We're so happy. You're not going to believe it. Retirement gets to happen 5 years earlier. Lots of amazing things that we can't wait to share with one another is the power and passion that Andrew felt. Now, you might not believe me, but this actually has happened to me. Someone who was so excited that they told me to just come and see. Now, when I was pregnant with my first child, it's a time of in-betweenness. You're not quite a mother yet or a parent. You're not a kid anymore, that's for sure. And when you're halfway pregnant, it's really in between. You're too big for your clothes, but you're not quite showing, and you just seem big and heavy. And a whole lot of things that you think are fun aren't so fun anymore, and you fall asleep before everyone else. I was a little bit miserable with my first pregnancy, and my friend Elisa invited me to her cookie party at Christmas. Now, cookie parties are kind of this great thing. You make a couple dozen cookies, and then you bring them to the party, you put them all out on the table, you eat way more than you should, and then you bring home like 2 or 6 of each kind, and then your family loves it, right? My husband loved it. I had brought home like 3 dozen of his favorite cookies, all different flavors. It was at this party when my friend noticed I was pregnant. I shouldn't say she was a friend. She was an acquaintance because I had just met her. And she said, "You should really go to MOPS." And I was like, a mopping club? I don't think so. But MOPS stands for Mothers of Preschoolers. And what it is, it's a group that gets together every other Friday on my side of town. And somebody makes you this amazing breakfast. Your kids go to something like preschool or Sunday school for 3 hours while you sit and learn things. Sometimes you learn about how to save for retirement or get ready for your kids going to college. Sometimes you learn how to organize a closet. And sometimes you learn about Easter. And sometimes you learn about Christmas and what those things really mean for people who are Christian. I have to tell you, one of the most powerful days I ever had at MOPS was when my mentor mom stood up in front of all 60 of us and taught us how to fold a fitted sheet. Like, these were profound moments, y'all. Okay? So this woman who I've just become an acquaintance with, I had no idea what was all in store for me joining MOPS. But she says, you have to just go and try it. Just go and try it. And she said, "I'm going to get you an invitation." She leaves the cookie party. She drives all the way back home. She goes and gets a magazine and an invitation, a magazine just for the ministry of MOPS. And then she drives all the way back. She's missed about an hour of the party just to get me this invitation and magazine. "It's so wonderful," she says, handing it to me and really invading my personal space. She's really like up on me. "You just have to go and see it. Just go one time. Just go and see it." She was so excited about the potential and the possibility for that experience changing my life and setting me on a different course for motherhood that she just wanted me to go and try it. So I went and tried it. And as you've heard me say, it's this amazing and wonderful and practical experience. And through the women in that ministry, my life was changed. Like, the women in this group let the power of God flow through them in camaraderie, in relationship, in help, in sharing the story of the Bible, in fitted sheets, and so on. The practical and the everyday became very real, and I got my first taste of God truly being with me when my mom couldn't be there. Now, I wonder if you have had an experience like this. They come along every once in a while at different milestone places in our lives. A time when someone just says to us, "Come and see. Come and see what God is doing over here in the PTA. Come and see what God is doing in the classroom. Come and see and have dinner with me. I have something really great to tell you." It might not always be join a Bible study, come set up for communion. But there are moments when we recognize that we have been invited to take another step in this faith journey. And this is a moment where I would invite you to recognize it. Now, hopefully our ushers gave you a green piece of fabric and a Sharpie. And what I'm going to invite you to do today is write the name of someone who gave you an epiphany, who invited you to come and see something. Later I put some on our chairs this time. Oh, sorry. Okay. I told you things are a little confusing this morning. Later during the communion time, after you have come up to receive communion, bring your fabric with you, and you can tie it to our nets that are installed up here in the front. And each week we will tie a name, we will tie an event that contributes to the epiphanies that Jesus has given us in our lives. So that at the end of 6 weeks, we will have this great testimony of all the things that Jesus has done for us in this community for the people who gather at this worship service. Now, you might not know the name of the person who gave you an epiphany. There was one guy at a car wash once, so I would just have to say, guy at the car wash. And indeed, my strip today will say, friend of Elisa Dean, because I never saw this woman after that. But after you've picked someone who invited you to come and see something, turn to your neighbor and share who that was and what they said. And listen to each other. Now, pay attention. Sometimes we have people in the congregation who are kind of sitting by themselves, so make sure you get up and move so that everyone has a chance to share their come and see story. You have a minute to share each.